Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Well, hello, everybody.
We flew through Cincinnati, and we
You're
all
going or
got
whatever you're
really
doing.
happy.
Sports Beat along for the ride. Jim Coyle with you as always. Got Justin Kalen high atop the crew chief's box.
That's right.
We've got Jake along for the ride as well. What's Jake wearing this morning? We don't know. It'll be a surprise. Hope you got a good day. Hope we can get your day started and headed in the right direction. On the program today, we've got Matt Weaver, Peaks.com. The spring football game's coming up this Friday, so we'll talk to Matt about that a little bit. Ken Bykoff also on with us today. A lot to talk about with Ken. But before we get to all that, let's get to the headlines with Justin.
All right, here are a look at your daily Hoosier headlines for this 10th day of April 2019 as UCLA finally finds their guy as Cincinnati's Mick Cronin gets a 6-year, $24 million deal. Staying in Los Angeles, Magic Johnson to step down as president of the Lakers. Indiana basketball commits Armon Franklin and Trace Jackson Davis named to the Indiana All-Star team. And Indiana baseball set to take on Purdue tonight at 7:05 at Bart Kaufman Field. Those are a look at your daily Hoosier headlines for this 10th day of April 2019. For more information, be sure to check out thedailyhoosier.com.
And welcome back in. Magic Johnson stepping down as president of basketball operations for the Los Angeles Lakers. Not a big deal, other than it just sent shockwaves through the NBA. It was just a shock for them, apparently. And it seems like there's, I don't know. I heard some clips last night that the owner, Jeannie Buss, said, you have the power to fire Luke, meaning Luke Walton, the coach. He didn't want to do that, but I don't know what's going on out there. But it just sent shockwaves for some reason through the NBA when he did that.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, but he was instrumental in bringing LeBron James to Los Angeles. So let's see how that goes. Just casually following along just because big interest with Magic Johnson, been involved with him for so long, obviously. You heard Justin mention Indiana baseball. Purdue tonight at the Bart. A late game, 7 o'clock start, man. That game won't get over till after 10 probably.
Yep.
Not looking forward to that. They've got a doubleheader on Saturday. And then the Little 500 is happening this weekend up in Bloomington, Indiana, an iconic an event on the campus of Indiana University, the world's greatest college weekend, as the Little 500 at Armstrong Stadium. The women's race is actually on Friday at 4 o'clock. And then Friday night at 7, you've got the spring game at Memorial Stadium. Indiana's football team is wrapping up spring practice Friday with the spring game. Won't see Jack Tuttle, unfortunately. He is sick. And, of course, Michael Penix still nursing the knee injury. But you will see Michael Penix. They are going to set it up in a manner in which Michael can participate. He's been participating out at practice yesterday, watching him throw the ball, go through plays. They just stop the play to make sure no one can get to him. But he's actively out there and throwing, so you will see him Friday night. They're going to set it up so you can see him. And I'm sure they're not going to show a lot, but at certain times, I'm sure they'll unleash that arm just so the fans can see what's underneath of that cannon. But a lot going on this week, man. A lot going on in the next couple of days. I guess let's just hope Bob Knight doesn't show up. Man.
That would be too much.
Oh, yeah, that would just throw it over the top. But a lot going on. I hope your day's off to a great start. And if not, I hope we can get it headed in that direction as we have hit the midway point here on this Wednesday.
Hump day.
Yeah, boy. A lot coming up. You get see what's going on. Hey, hit us up on the text line. Let us know what your thoughts are thinking on today, 812-269-6367. Make sure you like or follow us on Facebook. You can follow the show rebroadcast as a podcast on iTunes, Apple Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play. You can also find us live anytime at thedailyhoosier.com, indianasportsbeat.com, or thegruelingtruth.net. You can find me on Twitter at Jim Coyle ISB. So there's no reason you can't find the show anytime. We're also soon hopefully having a mobile app for you, make it even easier yet. Hey, make sure you take care of our good friend John Sweetland from Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling. That's a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995, serving Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. The number there, 812-944-5642. Some great people there, and they help bring you this program, which helps bring you the coverage from Indiana University. So make sure you take care of those that take care of you. Also, our good friends at Reynolds Family Dentistry, serving Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family as they do ours. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. Great people. Again, they're the reason that we're able to bring you this coverage of Indiana University. So take care of those that take care of you. Don't forget them. Let us know what your thoughts and thinking are. Questions, if you have them, for Ken Bykoff or Matt Weaver later on today, get those sent in as well. But lots to talk about coming up. And actually, if you have a different subject, we'll talk about that too. Man, when the basketball season ends, it's morning for me. I'm in mourning already. It started last night already. I'm like, man, somebody said something, and I'm like, there's not a single college basketball game on.
Depressing, right?
It's set in like dropping a tombstone in the ocean. It just, man. Yeah, it's going to take a minute to get past, but then other things come along and you realize it's spring and the weather's getting nice and you get to get outside and it'll all be nice and good. And we'll wait till it comes around again next year. But lots to get to as the spring is cutting loose. The flowers are growing. Time to get outside and have a little fun, man. Some outdoor sports. Weather. How about yesterday? I don't know about where you are, but where I am, yesterday was fantastic. Yeah. It was a beautiful day. Hope you got to experience that as well. It was nice. Boy, what a great golf courses were lit up yesterday. I wish I was participating with them, but I was not. I actually am today. I'm going to get to play in a little. Today, the Masters is this week also. Let's don't forget. A tradition like no other. Indiana Sports Beat. Masters, of course, taking place, a little place in Georgia. The Augusta National Golf Club. Today they're having today is their par 3 tournament. Pretty popular for a lot of people.
One of the best days of the Masters.
A lot of people love that, man. A friend of mine, Tommy Zeller, actually, Fuzzy Zeller's brother, he loves that day, and that's who I'm actually playing in that par 3-on-3 with today. But yeah, a lot of people love that little par 3 tournament, man. And you know, they have a separate course for that is just for that. So looking forward to that. Yeah. And it's fun. I mean, those guys, they can stick this too. It's funny.
For example, I saw a stat yesterday. There were 9 hole-in-ones two or 3 years ago. There were 9.
Well, you know, it doesn't surprise me because I was watching something the other day, a golf event, and this guy hits a shot that it's kind of a hard shot, but it's got some distance though, and it's an iron, and it still hits the green and it rolls by the hole about, you know, not very far, 5, 6, 7, 8 feet. But the fact is it rolled within 6 inches of the hole as it went by is what is mind-boggling to me, that these guys have that strength and precision at the same time. And that's what I think a lot of people don't realize about golf. It's not, no, you're not out there running up and down the court. No, you're not getting hit. No, it's a different sport. But their hand-eye coordination, the accuracy, man, you ever hit a golf ball? If you have, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because I guarantee you, most of you, if you're listening, if you've hit a golf ball, it did not go in the direction you were wanting it to go. As it does not for me.
And you probably didn't hit the first one.
No. So, but yeah, it's just fun. They make it look like child's play.
Yeah.
But yeah, the par 3 tournament coming up today at the Masters. So looking forward to that. Little 500 again. Have you ever been to the Little 500? To people in the audience, if you have, hit us up. Let me know what your experience was. Hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. But I only went to that thing one time, and I never went while I was on campus at school. There was too much else going on. But, yeah, looking forward to it. A whole lot going on this weekend. Yesterday, got to meet with both coordinators for Indiana football, Kane Womack and Kalen DeBoer. Hopefully we'll hear from them a little later. I don't know if, Justin, do you have any of that?
I can get some, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's loaded on I think I loaded it. I can't remember. I hope I did. Hope I didn't fall asleep first, but it was a long, long day yesterday. But lots going on, and yeah, the football team is wrapping up spring practice right now. They have one more practice, and that is tomorrow. I'll head out there again and see as they wrap up their final spring practice of the Springs. They head into their spring game on Friday night at 7:00 at Memorial Stadium. They've got a lot of things planned there. I don't have that in front of me, but I know they've got some. You might want to pull that up online if you have any intention on going. If you have kids, they have a clinic beforehand that you can have your kids involved in. So that's kind of a cool deal. So look that up. Give it a Google on there, and you can see what all the schedule is. But they got a lot of things going on. The women's Little 5 race is going on at 4:00 that day. So, man, Bloomington is absolutely bumping this weekend. If you're out and about and you want to head to Bloomington, Indiana, there's going to be a lot going on there with the Little 500, the spring game, baseball doubleheader. Who knows? Bob Knight may show up. You just never know what's going to, or better yet, maybe this time it's Elvis that shows up at the Indiana University campus. Oh, man. Thank you very much. But it was, I think I said it the other day. The only thing would have been more incredulous had Elvis showed up, and he's been dead for 40 years. Yeah. That's the only thing that could have been more mind-boggling, I think, for me that day, is if Elvis did walk up. And he has been dead for 40 years. So that's the only reason that would have been more surprising. But he wouldn't have gotten the attention that Bob Knight got.
Not on IU's campus.
No, that's what's funny. But yeah, well, I guess good thing he didn't break out an Elvis song. He could have had that. That would have been something. But Magic Johnson steps down as the president of the Lakers. Man, I don't know what's going on out there, but it sure caught a lot of people by surprise. Hey, also, I'm getting a scoop on the headlines on Justin on this. I can't believe you missed this. Indiana All-Star team was announced yesterday. Of course, Trace Jackson Davis, a member of that team. Armand Franklin, a member of that team. That will be attending Indiana. There's a couple other committeds on there, of course. Kobe Barnes from Floyd Central.
What exactly did you get the scoop on?
The Indiana All-Star team.
Huh. My third one was IU commits Armand Franklin and Trace Jackson Davis named to the Indiana All-Star team. That's funny.
You must have cut out. I missed it. I did not hear you say that. I thought I heard everything else, because I try to always pay attention to what you're saying.
I was like, he is not going to call me out for this when I said it.
Busted. Yeah, I missed that one. Good job. But, the All-Star team announced yesterday, the Indiana All-Star team. A couple of IU commits on there, of course. There's a couple of commits going all over the place. The one thing that you'll notice about the Indiana All-Star team, every player, all 13, they're Division I commits. Their reserves are Division I commits. Their alternates are Division I commits. That's what Indiana does. That's the type of talent Indiana produces. And if you don't understand, not every state can just do that. And especially the size of Indiana. Indiana is not a big state. You take Kentucky, for example, who they play in the All-Star game. maybe half their team will be Division I commits. Maybe,
yeah.
The rest are going to St. Catherine College or Buffalo Bills, Woodside University. Who knows? But which doesn't matter on the court, obviously. Well, it usually does because Indiana holds a resounding lead in that series, like 3-1. Although last year Kentucky did finally win a game. That was the first time they won a game in like 10 years, I think.
Yeah.
So again, that shows you the difference there. But we're going to have to take a break. We've got a Chronic coming along for those of you that may have missed him yesterday. We get to listen to the soothing tones of Chronic Hoosier coming up next. Stay tuned. We got a lot here on the program today. Matt Weaver's going to join us. Ken Bykoff as well. We're back with more here on Indiana Sports Beat right after this.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X in Southern Indiana and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
If that doesn't make you feel good, I don't know what will on Tuesday. That means one thing and one thing only. Chronic Hoosiers along for the ride. Chronic, how are you, man?
I'm still coming to grips with the fact that it's over. It's officially the off season, man. It was a heck of a way to end it, but it's always that stark reality when you look at the calendar and realize just how long it's going to be till you get to watch college basketball again.
Yeah, and a lot of people were not looking forward to a game that had two teams that were so defensively minded. I was looking forward to it because I thought it was going to be a hell of a game. I was a little scared in the beginning when it wasn't heading in that direction, but it sure came around and got to be exactly what it needed to be.
I'll tell you what, I actually love this year's championship game because it kind of gave fans a chance to really sift through and figure out who the true basketball fans are versus who's just a fan of offense. I mean, let's be honest. That was a heck of a championship game, as good as any that I can remember in a while. And, I understand the common perception that, it's an ugly brand of basketball. But, there's the common axiom that the defense wins championships. And I think it's never been more evident, or at least not recently, since last night, or prior to last night, rather. It's the beautiful part of the game to me. I mean, the game is played on both ends of the floor. And we hear it all so often that that's truly what separates championship teams from the rest of the field is their ability to defend. And, that was kind of the superlative of it last night. So I enjoyed it wonderfully. I think people lost in all that was how good those offenses are too. Virginia coming in with the most efficient offense in the country last night. And ultimately that was the deciding factor for them is their ability to squeeze out some of those plays late. But man, that's exactly what I want my basketball team to play like. Some validation for the pack line defense in last night's title game, and hopefully give some people pause before they complain about what Coach Miller's trying to put in place here. Because as we've seen time and time again, not just in college basketball, but in all sports, defense can get you there, man. You absolutely have to figure out how to keep the opponent from scoring. And those two teams last night just did it at a level that it just blows the mind how stifling their defense can be.
Absolutely, and it was a unique opportunity because you had Chris Beard, the disciple of Bob Knight, and his defensive principles, which has served them quite well all season, against Virginia, and the pack line defense, which is what Archie Miller runs currently at Indiana. So kind of a unique opportunity to see those two schemes going against each other. But not only just a great game, an incredible tournament. I mean, think about the games we got to see, the Purdue games, the Auburn games, all these incredible good games. Even look at the women, their national championship game came down to the same thing, comes down to free throws at the end of the game. Just unbelievable games all the way around this year. And I hope it stays that way because, man, it is much more engaging and fun to watch that than to watch Kansas beat Fairfield 89-12. I mean, this was a great, fun tournament for me.
No, absolutely. And I think it also kind of highlights how important it is in this day and age of the one and done players and these super teams that are constantly being compiled every year by a select few, rather. Just how much of a premium coaches have to place on building team chemistry, on getting experience, on getting leadership. Truly finding players that are going to fit into their system and execute it. And at the end of the day, I think that's what we saw this tournament on the men's and women's side was just a bunch of teams that were out there executing their team stuff. In the men's, particularly when you look at the two finalists, the emphasis on decision making, on playing smart basketball, on making the proper choice in the circumstance. It's the way the game's supposed to be played. It's the game that we learned growing up in Indiana. Whether you're watching Texas Tech's motion offense, the ball screens that Virginia runs. Just some phenomenal heady basketball. Cheers to all the coaches and the teams that put on one of the better tournaments I can remember in some time.
Absolutely. Indiana has a lot of holes to fill next season. 8 new faces expected to be in Bloomington on Archie Miller's basketball team. Obviously, looking to fill that with a lot of different sets of skill sets. One of those would be the big man in Joey Brunk, and I think Indiana gets him. I think it's a fit because I know he wants to be an attorney. He's from Indiana, of course, and I think he wanted to play at IU before he went to Butler. But regardless, 2 years of having a guy like that to go along with Deron Davis next year, that would be a great fit for them. If they can pull in one of these guys, a shooter, they can. I see this potentially as them pulling a page from the women's program, in which they have a season where they have Tyra Buss and Amanda Cahill, and then they lose those guys, and the next season they actually get better, not because of losing them, but of having more pieces in place like the women had this year. They had several pieces in place. I think the men can have that next year, especially if you get Jerome Harmon. You forget about him, Hunter, coming in. I mean, they could really elevate their talent level in a hurry and be back to a pretty good program or a pretty good team next year.
Well, first and foremost, it's actually 9 roster spots that are getting replaced this year, not 8.
Wow.
Yeah, it's we are in that's total roster spots. Granted, we've got some walk-ons as Coach Miller is going to be replacing as well, and I caught a lot of flack in recent weeks for including them, but those guys are absolutely part of the team. They're absolutely the reason Indiana was able to compete 5v5 in scrimmage this season in the face of some of the injuries. But that aside, though, that just further magnifies just how precarious of a situation Archie's in right now. I think this is an extremely high risk, high reward situation for the Indiana coaching staff. We find ourselves rather in a position here, just 2 seasons in now, where you're looking at just scholarship numbers alone. There's going to be 9 of the 13 scholarships are going to be wholly Archie's guys coming in here. If you look at Al Durham and Justin Smith, even though Coach had to retain them from the prior staff's recruiting and basically get a recommitment from them, those were never the guys he initially sought out for that class. So you're going to have 4 upperclassmen in Davis Green, Al Durham, and Justin Smith. And other than that, it's going to be a roster completely full of Archie's guys. It's going to give him the ability, albeit somewhat limited right now, just because this is not necessarily the ideal time to be filling your roster out in early April. But the opportunity is going to be there for Archie to put in place some of the guys that he wants to use going forward in building the Hoosiers into what he's trying to get in there. And I think you're right that Joey Brunk seems very likely at this point. Obviously, until it's announced, until the commitment is made known, it's still an uncertainty. But it would certainly seem to fit both for the player as well as the team as far as the needs and what they have to offer one another. I think one of the benefits here as well in this situation is you're really adding, if Brunk were to come as a grad transfer, you still got 2 years left of eligibility, play immediately. I think one of the opportunities that presents itself in this situation is also not just the ability to plug guys in, Archie's guys in, but also to regain some sense of balance in the classes right now. That was one of the big issues that Coach Miller inherited, with some really lopsided class sizes. It just made for some slim opportunities in some classes and some massive opportunities in others in order to bring guys in and fill it up. So kind of balance it across the number of class, or balance the available scholarships across the classes. That would really put Brunk in with the rising juniors next year. And again, just kind of give it more of a natural flow, a natural progression. And that's been one of the things that has lingered now for years is with the early attrition the Hoosiers have had to endure. It's made for some really imbalanced recruiting classes where there's a lot of guys coming in, having to get up to speed all together. A bulk of the scholarships even, they're going to be underclassmen. So it's going to give him the chance to hopefully iron some of that out. Obviously, there's going to be some positions still yet to fill, whether or not he gets it from a late freshman commitment, whether or not there's some additional options, maybe that aren't even on the radar in the grad transfer market. And then there's always a possibility he's going to sit on some. And again, add more balance back down the road, perhaps see a red shirt come in. Archie's shown that he's not afraid to do that and to bank him. You're only running an 8-man rotation on average. That certainly affords that opportunity to be a little more scrupulous with the scholarships and how you want to dole them out and how you expect them to contribute down the road. Because let's be honest, with what he's got going on right now, you're not going to see a lot of freshmen come in and get immediate minutes, get heavy rotation. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, again, when you look back at some of these tournament teams, it's exactly how it happens is you let guys grow and mature in your system and develop and not necessarily be expected to carry the load like a one and done. And there's certainly some virtue to that. But at the end of the day, too, it's going to be something that's going to provide maybe some more long-term stability for the Hoosiers. And I think that's going to be absolutely paramount if he's going to be able to get them back on track here soon.
Absolutely, and this gets him a lot closer to having the roster that he wants to have. And I think that until he gets the kind of success that Hoosier Nation is looking to have is just not going to completely be there. But this gets him a lot closer in doing that. There's no way I can not talk about the big deal over the weekend, Chronic. Coach Bob Knight showed up at the baseball game out at the BART on Saturday. Nobody more shocked than I was, but wow, what an utter shocking turn of events.
Yeah, I've got so many feelings on this one. I think there's a lot of mixed emotions seeing Coach Knight back on campus. I'm still kind of processing it and trying to understand the contours of what this means, what it might signal. There was a lot of positive emotions, I guess, in seeing that. A lot of confusing emotions as well. I don't know if this is necessarily a sign that the coach is ready to make amends. I don't know if this is a sign that coach is digressed to the point that he no longer remembers why he wished death upon many of the IU administrators that were still surviving his termination. I don't know if this is just his way of saying, of perhaps burying the hatchet. I still feel like he fell short of where it needed to be. I mean, I felt like he was 1,000 steps away from where he truly belongs back on campus. I am of the understanding that this wasn't the first time he's been back on campus proper since his termination. It's my understanding he's seen Cook Hall, he's seen the renovations at Simon Scott Assembly Hall. He's just always chosen to do it very quietly, very privately, so that not to make headlines, so as not to let it be known that his grudge was officially over. But to do it in this manner was certainly surprising, to say the least. Not to mention to make it at a baseball game. And I know Coach Knight is a huge baseball fan, has been for a long, long time. I can only imagine how cool that was for the baseball staff, particularly Jeff Mercer. You heard his comments about it and what Coach Knight and that legacy means to him. So I thought that was extremely cool. But I also still remember, the road we've traveled to get to this point, still fresh in my mind, is the 76 reunion back in 2016 that Coach Knight declined to attend. So there's a piece of me that's happy to see him back on campus, happy to see him willing to embrace the way in which his legacy and Indiana basketball's legacy are really inexorably intertwined. I think they always will be, and I think that was always one of the sadder parts about this divorce, if you will, was the fact that it really deprived both parties of fully being able to embrace that. And then I'm still left questioning exactly what does that mean, and does it even matter at this point? Now we're almost 2 decades past his removal here at IU. 36 years past his last Final Four at Indiana. It certainly feels good. I just don't know how much it matters anymore, to be honest with you. And I don't know that I will anytime soon. I think this is, again, something it's been so long in the making. It's going to take some time to process, and we'll see where it leads. Perhaps this is a thawing out where, maybe next season Knight does come back onto the court at Assembly Hall and receive the embrace that so many fans have for so long wanted to give him. But I guess at the end of the day, it's a pretty big step in the right direction for both parties.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I don't know. I think it may be a combination of all of the things, of him realizing that he's in the twilight, and those around him have maybe helped him realize that hey, this needs to happen. This is ridiculous. You've left a legacy, but you're you're fractured from it. So that, I think the health issue definitely is playing a part. There's obviously a lot of talk about him moving back here to Bloomington. I've been hearing that for a while. I hadn't said anything about it till it was said on Dan Patrick yesterday. So might as well now. But I don't know that that's a fact is why I haven't said anything. But as much as I've heard it, and what all the things that have transpired here lately, that everything seems to make sense. Coming back to be with the people that he has loved and trusted, his doctors, his friends. So we'll see if that turns out to be the case. And I think it would be a great for the program. Why he comes back now, I don't know that question is ever truly answered.
Because he chose to. I mean, at the end of the day, Bob Knight's going to do what Bob Knight wants to do, and for no other damn reason.
And when he wants to do it, exactly right.
Yep.
You're right on. But the one question I do ask, because he has, obviously you mentioned, and it's kind of well known in certain circles that he's been back before, but when he does that, when he comes back and he goes to Cook Hall and he goes in to see the renovations in private, but yet maintains this public stance of I'm never going back there. But yet the truth is he has been back. So is that not just more saying that, hey, I'm going to act like I'm pissed at IU, but the truth is I'm really not, because I know that the people that have done me, that I feel done me wrong, are gone. So it's just kind of weird to me that he would come back in private, but then maintain this public stance of disassociation.
Again, it's whatever Coach Knight chooses to do. I mean, quite honestly, this is something that he has nurtured and embraced his grudge against the university. He's played off of it. He's parlayed it into I don't know how many different speaking engagements all over the country, but especially around the state. It was a big deal. I don't know how many years ago now, 6, 7, 8, when he came and signed some copies of his book at the local Walmart here in Bloomington. And it was, it was again one of these baby steps back towards Assembly Hall, back inside the city limits of Bloomington, without ever acknowledging. I think he went out of his way to disparage, those who were part of his termination, and just continuing to hold his grudge, and again feeding it. Publicly at least, but all the while still embracing the community as much as he could in the way that he somehow felt was appropriate for where he wanted to posture himself. And I don't know if those pretenses are officially gone at this point. I don't know that we'll ever know exactly what motivated him to come back now in the manner that he did. No differently than I guess we'll never know why he chose to make his late night appearances on campus and to go see what's become of the program he once led. Obviously, it's something that's still very close to him. It's something he considers important and part of his legacy. We'll see if there's the opportunity left to make full amends, to really allow our rejoining. And again, I don't know that ever happens fully unless you see him back on Assembly Hall's court. I still am, incredibly disappointed that when his players, who he said it was all about, he's always deflected to the players and to the fans as the ones that made all his accomplishments possible. And, when the opportunity was presented to him to really be a part of that and really fulfill that celebration of his players a couple years ago for the 76 celebration. And he demurred. And that was certainly a choice he made. And that's one that, until he does otherwise, is going to be, at least in my book, kind of where he truly stands on it. So, again, I think it's a step in the right direction for all the parties right now. Having lived with a form of dementia a couple times actually within my family, I understand how important it is to be back in a familiar setting, to be back in an environment that, like the back of your hand, because eventually you're going to forget what your own hand looks like, and that's going to seem foreign. So I can appreciate what this can be for him at his point in his life right now. We'll see if there's a time out for some more lucid moments, and see what he chooses to do if he does in fact decide to come back to Bloomington on a full-time basis.
We'll certainly see. Chronic, thanks, brother. I appreciate you. Look forward to it each week.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me, Jim.
Enjoy the Little 5, bro. It's a Little 5 week. Chronic Hoosier on with us here. Hey, coming up next, Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier here on Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with more after this. Welcome back
Hello,
live, Indiana Sports Beat. Jim Coyle coming to you from the golf club at Eagle Point Studios. So we are back, right, guys? All right.
Yes.
Hope you're off to a good start. A little chronic there for you. On the program today, Matt Weaver from Peas.com. We're talking a little football because the IU spring game is Friday night. Spring practice comes to a close. Their final practice is tomorrow. I'll head out there, talk to Coach Allen, and have that for you on Friday as well. But they bring spring practice to a close. Hopefully they have gotten some things accomplished. Trying to get a new offense put in as Kalen DeBoer, a new offensive coordinator, spoke with him yesterday for the first time. I spoke with him for the first time yesterday. But they've got a lot they're trying to accomplish. And it's kind of hard because they're trying to implement a brand new offense. And you've got the three quarterbacks that are going to be battling for the QB1 spot in the new offense, none of which has played that offense. But Michael Penix, he's gotten to learn a lot in it, even though he's been injured because he's gone through everything else. He just hasn't gotten to do the actual in-practice plays with the aggression of full health, but he's out there playing right now. And you will see him Friday night in the spring game running plays or going through plays. You're not going to see him running too much. But then you have Jack Tuttle. Jack Tuttle, unfortunately, he just got his waiver from the NCAA, clearing him for immediate eligibility, but now he's sick, and he's going to miss that game Friday. He's not getting to pick it up as quickly, and he was not out of practice yesterday, and I don't think that I saw him at the last practice either. So I don't know if he's got some kind of a contagious thing or not. I mean, they HIPAA, they kind of keep everything close to the vest, but so it must be something that's either contagious, can be contagious, or I mean, you could have mono or anything, who knows. Something like that, but it's nothing serious. It's just keeping him out of the game is all. But it's slowing him down, and but that also to me slows down the team because you're trying to implement this new offense, and I got to tell you, it's going to be a hell of a battle at quarterback. But that battle is going to be a two-man battle. I don't see it being a three-man battle, but Peyton Ramsey's not going to just roll over. I promise you. Peyton Ramsey's a good kid. He's a good guy. He really is. He just doesn't have the arm strength yet. And maybe that's something that comes for him later, but he's behind the eight ball as far as that comes when it comes to the other two quarterbacks in the fold because they both have stronger arms. And that's something Indiana's going to have. They've got to get the ball downfield. If you watched last year, you saw what happens when you don't do that. If you don't stretch the defense, they're going to just pack it in. And even though they have a good running game, that's only going to carry you so far unless you've got an all-American line across side to side that's just going to blow open some holes, and not too many people do, but Indiana certainly didn't. The running game is not enough. A team like Indiana has to have every weapon at its disposal. They're at a disadvantage. They're not as big as Ohio State or Michigan or Penn State. They're not as fast. So they've got to do things. They don't have the talent, but they have talent. And they have talent that they can win with. But they have to do things precisely, and they have to be able to do everything, including throwing the ball downfield, which I don't see that as being a problem this year, especially with the new offensive coordinator, who that will be an emphasis, I guarantee you, and the fact that they have the two quarterbacks that can get it done. So I talked to Kalen DeBoer about that very thing. I asked him about how difficult it was to do what he's trying to do while he doesn't have his full complement of players. He doesn't have Michael Penix really right. He does, so you can get that implemented, but you can't see really the flow of it because he's not running. He can't pull a pass down and run instead. He can't do some of that stuff right now. And then now you got Tuttle, who's not out there either. And they've moved Reese Taylor to defense, and they're not going to bring him back. So yeah, they're still a little short.
Well, yeah, and I was going to ask you, not only with Michael Penix being out, but Jack Tuttle as well, how that affected the team. But if you think about the game they were going to play on Friday, they will get Penix involved, like you said, but it's going to be mostly the Peyton Ramsey show. And so it's not going to be a very sexy spring football game. Not a lot of them are, but
well, a lot of times though, Justin, what they'll do is because they can do whatever they want as far as how they set it up. Sure. A lot of times I've seen it where they don't always go offense against offense. Sometimes it's just offense against defense. And because there's usually a lot of injuries, or you're not going to show a lot, they're not going to show a lot either. You're going to see a very vanilla offense. That's the same that you will see with any team. Nobody's going to show anything in the spring for their opponents to see. They're not going to give any scout information out. So they're going to do some things. You're going to see Michael Penix, and I think that they'll use him in a way of throwing the ball downfield, because that's one thing that he can do. So we'll see. They'll try to make do. Certainly, it'll be better than last year when they had to move it inside because of the weather that didn't come. We were both up there for that, and so hopefully they'll make it work. But
Kalen DeBoer, you mentioned he met with the media yesterday. He discussed the spring game on Friday night. Let's have a listen to what he was talking about.
You'll want to see from your offense.
Yeah, I think it's just a continuation of what we've been doing. And what I want to see is just consistent improvement, okay? We don't need to be perfect yet, okay? We're striving for that. But to me, it's all about right now still being part of the, going through the process. And as long as we're consistently improving, I'll feel good about the direction we're going, and hopefully that happens on Friday.
You're not going to see Jack Tuttle. What can you tell people in terms of when you did see Jack this spring? What did you see from him?
Yeah, first of all, the guy's a go-getter. He's going to be 30 minutes early for a meeting, literally. He's going to put a lot of work into knowing his plays, knowing his reads. There's no way you can question any of the effort he ever puts in. Okay, and I love those guys. You win a lot of football games with those type of guys. Secondly, I think he's got a big arm. I think he understands the game, and I think there's some things that instinctually happen for him pretty naturally. Now, there's still a lot going through his mind as he's learning offense, but there was times when he had a good feel for the concepts, good feel for what he was seeing happen in front of him, where he went out and just instinctually made plays and made throws to get guys open. Things that sometimes you can't even really coach until after it's happened.
We might see.
So there you go, Kalen DeBoer. Jim? May have lost him again. Anyways, that was Kalen DeBoer talking about the spring game offense. And on Friday, that's exactly what you will see. As Jim was talking about, it's not going to be – they're not going to show a whole lot. It's going to be very vanilla. It's just – you don't expect to see much when you head to a spring game. And you shouldn't typically anyways. But when you've got two quarterbacks that are down, with both Michael Penix and Jack Tuttle, it's not going to be something that you're going to want to see in the regular season. I mean, it's going to be nice to get just a nice little view of this team, whether it's a full-fledged offense or not. It'll be nice to see Indiana out on the football field again, especially with basketball season just reaching its conclusion. But don't expect to see much with Michael Penix. He's going to be standing there throwing. Maybe they get him a couple throws involved. Jack Tuttle not in the game, as you heard Jim say. But it will happen this Friday. So Indiana spring football game coming up. It's going to be an exciting time, and we'll certainly talk to Matt Weaver about that today as well. Stick with us. We've got to take a break here, but we will come back with our second hour, and Matt Weaver and Ken Bykoff will join us as well. Stick with us. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat right here on this Wednesday.
Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
This hour is brought to you by Sweetland Waste and Removal Service, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Well, welcome along, everybody. Thanks a lot for taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. Thanks a lot for taking Indiana Sports Beat along for the ride. Jim Coyle here with you, as always. Justin Kalen high atop the crew chief's box.
That's right.
Got our old good friend Jake along for the ride as well, taking care of us. Hope your day is off to a great start. We got a lot to get to. Matt Weaver from Pigs.com will join us. We're going to talk some football as Indiana wraps up spring season. The game is Friday night. Ken Bykoff joins us as well. We got a lot to talk about, a lot going on. Before we do that, let's get to the headlines with Justin.
All right, here are your Daily Hoosier headlines for this 10th day of April 2019. As UCLA has finally found their guy, as Cincinnati's Mick Cronin gets a 6-year, $24 million deal. Staying in Los Angeles, Magic Johnson to step down as president of operations of the Lakers. Indiana basketball commits Armon Franklin and Trace Jackson Davis named to the Indiana All-Star team. And Indiana baseball set to take on Purdue tonight at 7:05 at Bart Kaufman Field. Those are Look at Your Daily Hoosier headlines for this 10th day of April 2019. For more information, be sure to check out thedailyhoosier.com.
And welcome back in. Thanks a lot. Jim Coyle here with you as always. A lot to get to. As Justin mentioned, the Indiana All-Stars named. Couple of IU commits, of course, Trace Jackson Davis, Armon Franklin, amongst many others. Kobe Barnes from Floyd Central is an Indiana All-Star.
DeJuan Jones, your big boy.
Of course, man. He's always an all-star. What are you talking about? My man, DeJuan Jones from Ben Davis, 6'9", behemoth. Big boy. But, yeah, that'll be a great – what another lineup, Indiana, a full roster of Division I players. Their alternates are Division I players. So, yeah, it's Hemingway. You know what? I'm going to ask Ken Bykoff, why did Indiana not recruit Hemingway? He's a Clemson recruit from southwestern Indiana. I don't understand. This dude can shoot, man. Why? How? What? I got to find out what the deal is. Why he was not recruited, or did he just get recruited? I can't believe Clemson would have recruited him away. So it seems like can shoot the ball, but I haven't scouted him, so maybe there's some flaws there. But just curious on that one. But Indiana All-Star named yesterday, as I said. That game comes up later on in the summer as they'll take on their counterparts in Kentucky. They're all-stars, of which Indiana has a resounding lead in that series. Kentucky finally won a game last year for the first time in like a decade. But that was a team. You know what's funny? That team reminded me, that first game that they played, I watched them play at Bellarmine University down in Louisville. But that all-star team performance that night reminded me a lot like what I saw from the Indiana basketball team at times this year. An uninspired effort. They got beat by a team that did not have half the talent that they had, which comes down to effort. And now, of course, they took care of business the next game, but they allowed Kentucky to win for the first time in, like I said, nearly a decade. But I don't know if that's part of just kids today, and that's an issue that you got to fight because, trust me, the kids today, a lot of them, you have to really work to motivate. And not only do you have to really work to motivate some of these kids, the tools in the war chest of a lot of these guys that they used to use, not kosher anymore. So they've got to get creative, and it's gotten a little more difficult. But if you see the good coaches, Tom Izzo, those guys, they're not having that problem. So we'll see how that works out. But it's just very interesting. That's something that just occurred to me. But that performance that they had in their first All-Star game sure reminded me a lot of what I saw in Assembly Hall this year.
Yeah, and I don't know if maybe with the state games, maybe the whole state pride thing is gone. You mentioned the kids these days need a little more motivation, likely because they're out there playing for themselves. When they're on that stage, it seems more times than not that they're out there for them. And they're not there for Indiana. They're not there for the state of Kentucky. They're there for them and to showcase their skills. And I think that's become somewhat of an issue as of late. But, yeah, I agree. You've got to get that team aspect back, and it's much like Indiana, like you said. So
hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. If you got any questions for Matt Weaver or Ken Bykoff, who will be joining us later, or questions of your own like Bill sent in. He says, if I turn on an IU football game and all three quarterbacks are healthy and Ramsey is the starter, I'm turning it off and going to cut grass. I don't think that's going to be a problem unless both are hurt, because they're between Tuttle and Penix. That's just too much talent for him to overcome from what I have seen thus far. Now, he has the experience edge on them, no doubt. He's got a 2-year run. He's a solid quarterback. He's a great backup. He is a tremendous backup. And that's the one thing. If something happens and a quarterback goes down for a little bit or whatever, you don't have worries of putting Peyton Ramsey in the game because you know he can. He's very adequate. But that's what he is. He's adequate. He'll get you by. He can throw you some short passes. He'll take care of the ball. He's not going to make a lot of mistakes. But he's not going to get you in the end zone a lot. We saw that last year. He's not going to go down the field. He doesn't have that accuracy on the strength. I'm sure he's working on that. I'm sure he's been working on that. But we'll see how it turns out. But I'm my nod without even seeing him play yet. But from everything I'm hearing, the Tuttle will probably it's going to be a heck of a battle between Tuttle and Penix. I don't know that can be predicted who wins that out right now. But Tuttle will have the advantage because Penix has been hurt. And even when he gets back cleared fully, it's still going to take him a minute to get indoctrinated into the contact, into all that. And, man, then you're always – it's got to be in the back of your mind. I mean, he's a wiry dude. He's wiry. He's strong, but he's wiry. He's long-legged. I was looking at him yesterday. I'm like, man, he's really his legs is where I think he gets his height. I mean, and I know that sounds duh, but no, he seems like a little more leg than he is torso. So dude can run. But he's also like a thoroughbred out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the battle plays out. I was going to bring up the point that Michael Penix, in my opinion, has the advantage because he knows the offense. Then I realized, wait, we hired an offensive coordinator this offseason in Kalen DeBoer. So both guys coming in with the same knowledge at this point.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun. I mean, I think it's going to be a lively offense, unlike the DeBoering offense that Indiana had last year. And I'm going to go ahead and say this. Now, do you know that DeBoer, the previous offensive coordinator, at halftime of a football game, what do the coaches usually do? They usually go down to the locker room. You meet with the different personnel, whether it's a defensive coach, they're going to meet with their people. The offensive coaches, they meet with their people. And they make halftime adjustments. Do you know how many times at halftime DeBoer went to the Indiana locker room?
Hit me.
0. He stayed in the press box, not going down. Why? I have no idea. But when your offensive coordinator is sitting on his fat ass in the press box and not coming to the locker room, you got an issue.
Yeah.
Especially when you have issues. And they had issues. How that could go on for an entire season, I don't know. But that's
well, you have the whole relationship with Tom Allen and DeBoer thing. I don't know. I mean, maybe he just didn't hold him accountable. DeBoer had already checked out. Who knows?
It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's just shocking to me, and it doesn't make sense. But that's not an issue going forward. You've got some youth in there now, invigoration. You're going to see excitement. I'm really looking forward to that. And do you have the clip that I was talking about earlier when I asked him about the difficulty of implementing a new offense when the guys that you're trying to implement are not there? But he talked about the difficulty of that, and it'd be nice to hear him talk about it instead of me, but we'll get that here in a second. Justin's working on getting that to you right now. But it's a problem. Indiana is implementing a brand new offense, but their two main quarterbacks are not available to them. So we'll see how that works out for them. Hit us up on the text line if you wish, 812-269-6367. Make sure you like or follow us on Facebook in case you've missed the live broadcast. You can always catch us anytime on the many places where we are. We are on iTunes, Apple Play, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. You can always find it, of course, at thedailyhoosier.com, indianasportsbeat.com, or thegruelingtruth.net. You can follow me on Twitter at Jim Coyle ISB. We're coming to you from the golf club at Eagle Point Studios here in Bloomington. I hope you're having a great day. We've got Matt Weaver joining us from Peegs.com. We're going to talk a little bit more about football. Ken Bykoff joins us as well. I'll always love Ken. Ken, you know what? We're going to talk to Ken about that great piece that he wrote not too long ago, like a week ago, talking about the last 25 years of Indiana basketball and the great debate that people have on whether Indiana is still a blue blood. Of course you're still a blue blood. You're just not living up to the standard right now. And that was a great article by Ken. If you didn't read it, you need to go find it. But it was a great article. But Indiana definitely has not lived up to that standard here of late. And they've got, hopefully you can get back to that. But if you have any delusions that they're not a blue blood, you're out of your mind. There's a reason they are, the third, fourth, fifth most valued program in America by Forbes magazine, by the Wall Street Journal. That's not a blue blood, really? Okay, whatever. Yeah, they're still there. That's why ESPN and CBS wants Indiana in the marquee games. That's why they have Indiana playing Duke and North Carolina. They don't have Purdue playing them. They don't have Wisconsin doing it. It's Indiana. And it doesn't matter when it is. They still want Indiana. Because even Indiana was going through their really bad downtime in the Crean era, they were still filling the stadium. They were still on TV because Indiana is Indiana. So that's that. But I look forward to talking to Ken about that. Apple Play is not a thing. What is Apple Play? Anybody know? Tell me, what is that? You don't know either? Nobody knows.
I don't know.
But
not a thing.
He's texting to me. It's not a thing. Not a thing. Yeah, hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. Take care of our good friend John Sweetland from Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. They serve Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties in southern Indiana. So if you're in that area, please, they take care of us, help bringing us the content to you. So take care of those that take care of you, as does our good friends at Reynolds Family Dentistry. They've been serving families for southern Indiana for over 30 years. Let our good friends Dr. J and Roger Reynolds take care of your family like they take care of us. Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. Again, one of the reasons we're able to bring you this great Indiana content. Stay with us. Matt Weaver joining us next. If you've got any questions for him, hit us up on that, as well as Ken Bykoff. We'll be back with all that and more right after this. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat. We'll be back.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Of course, Dreamweaver, our own Dreamweaver, Matthew from Peaks.com joins us. Matt Weaver, how are you, brother?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Lovely, lovely. Football spring practice for Indiana winding down now. They've got one practice left and then the spring game as they have tried to implement a new offense right now. Kalen DeBoer comes in and tries to do that. We got to speak with him after yesterday's practice. And one of the things I talked to him, Matt, was about the difficulty of trying to do this while two of his main quarterbacks are semi-sidelined. Tuttle's sick right now, and I didn't see him out there at all yesterday or the practice before. And of course, Michael Penix is recovering from the knee injury. He's getting to participate a lot, and I've said that he'll participate Friday night, but very limited, obviously. So that's got to be difficult to fully implement an offense when the main pieces are not available.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously you can teach them when they go in the quarterback room and show them video and film of practice and go over the playbook with them. But the best way to learn obviously is to get out there and actually do it and not just do it in individual stuff, but like in the team stuff when the kind of the bullets are kind of flying for real and obviously they had Tuttle's able to do that for about 10 practices, I guess. And obviously Ramsey's been there the whole time, but for Penix, he's had to try to kind of just watch from the sideline and, try to absorb things mentally. And then, hopefully when he's able to start doing it more for real, which would, looks like it'll be more in the fall camp, he'll be ready to go. It's not the best way or the way you'd want to do it, but, I think Penix seems like a sharp kid who picks stuff up pretty quick. I don't think it's going to be too much of a detriment to him, especially once they get to fall camp. The competition really kind of ratchets up between the three guys. But yeah. Ideally, you would have loved to have all three in there for every rep every day. But you can only control what you can control.
Absolutely, and
And I look at the pieces that are there and what lays ahead. And you've got Peyton Ramsey, who is a very, very solid quarterback, obviously, with 2 solid years of experience. And you've got 2 great quarterbacks to add to that in Michael Penix and Jack Tuttle. It's going to be a heck of a quarterback battle, but also they've got other great pieces on this offense. And with the new offensive coordinator, it's kind of difficult not to get excited about it, but you still stop and think, yeah, this is Indiana. But man, they seem to have the pieces in place to have some success next year.
Yeah, they've got we've talked about this before, but they've got really nice talent at wide receiver. Obviously, you got experience there with Donovan Hale, Nick Westbrook, Walt Philyor, Ty Freifogel got quite a bit of playing time, especially the second half of last year, and put up some good numbers. Miles Marshall, who's a redshirt freshman, he's having a really good spring. There's obviously good talent there. Tight end, it's a little bit more unknown, but you got some nice pieces in Peyton Hendershot, Matt Bjorson, both who played quite a bit last year, didn't put up huge numbers, but have the capability to do so. And then obviously we know what they have at running back with Stevie Scott. He was terrific. And you add a guy like Samson James. I mean, Ronnie Walker's back. You had another talented running back in Ivory Winters who'll be here this in the fall. I've said it before. It comes down to the O-line. I like what I've seen from the O-line so far. Because Caleb Jones looks like he's kind of taken hold of that right tackle spot, and hopefully that continues. So, there's no doubt about it. In Saturday's practice, I really thought that was the first day where the offense kind of won the entire day. There had been practices before where they won portions of it, but Saturday was the first one, which is to be expected when you're implementing a new scheme and you're doing install. And there's going to be some days where guys are going to be it's going to be kind of shaky because they've had a lot thrown at them and they're thinking more than just playing. But Saturday seemed like it all kind of came together, and the offense really I thought had a pretty good, and the defense made some plays too, but it was really one of those days where it was really back and forth, and I thought at the end of the day the offense was just a little bit better, which was nice to see.
Yeah, and the defense, as we've heard a lot of good things about them. They've got a lot of new pieces that they've added to that, but a lot of players from last year that were able to play and get valuable experience for Kane Womack, the new defensive coordinator, because of the new redshirt rule that allowed them to play in up to 4 games. Man, that's invaluable for a team like Indiana to get them that experience and not burn a year and to be able to come back. And then you got young people like Madison Norris and a lot of other guys that are really showing up, and he was part of that process. And so it looks to be the defense is coming back to where the defense that Tom Allen had a couple years ago when he first got here, which was staggeringly good. They seem to be heading back in that direction.
Yeah, I think that rule, I don't think there's any better example of who benefited from that rule than James Miller, the linebacker. He got to play in 3 games, played really well at Michigan up there, and he looked good this spring. Looks like he's going to be the starting middle linebacker. Madison Norris is the guy who, he's still got to get bigger, but as far as a pass rush guy, I think he can help him right now. He's so explosive off the ball. Shamar Jones, the guy who got in 1 game last year, so didn't get a ton of experience in the redshirt rule, but still got a feel of college football. He plays interior, at the 3 tech and D tackle. And then the position group that's really stood out to me, and I like the defense overall, but it's the secondary. I mean, at corner and safety, they're just so loaded with talent. I mean, they've got so many guys back there that they can rotate around. Cam Jones is a guy that's really stood out. They played him obviously at Husky where he played last year. They played him at safety, and now they're getting him some experience at stinger linebacker, the outside linebacker spot. He is such a talented, athletic guy who just makes plays when he's on the field. Womack has got, I've talked to him about this. He's got a lot of toys to play with on that defense. A lot of guys with athleticism, with speed, playmaking ability, guys. Brian Fitzgerald's another guy. Raheem Lane at corner. I mean, it just goes on and on. Juan Harris is having a good spring in his return back to the program, which is really important. I think that might be one of the most important guys on defense to have that, have a guy like Juan Harris in the middle really doing his job, taking up blockers, which allows your linebackers to run around and make plays. So far, so good. The defense has stayed relatively healthy, and they're going to get some more guys here in the fall in the recruiting class that can help them. So I think it's got a chance to be a pretty solid defense. Back to where it was a couple of years ago when they were, top 25 or 30 or close to a top 40 in the country.
Yeah, and then the spring game, the last practice they have of the spring coming up tomorrow. And then, of course, the spring game Friday night at Memorial Stadium at 7 o'clock. Not going to see a lot. You don't see much from anybody in the spring. They're not going to give a lot of secrets away for anybody to look at. But Indiana limited even more because of the things we talked about earlier with the injured quarterbacks. They're going to make some adjustments. Michael Penix will get to come out and participate and throw the ball. We've seen him go through plays, but they really limit what he can do and people getting to him. But they will get to see him Friday night. Jack Tuttle is not going to be able to play because he's been sick. But I'm sure that they'll be able to come up with something to make it an entertaining thing on Friday night. Better than being inside like we were last year.
Yeah. Hopefully the weather cooperates, and it's not. It's a nice day for the fans, and it won't be obviously like a typical game, but. In some ways, it may be a little bit more. I know it's probably not what fans want to see, but it may be a little more beneficial for the team because it could be more of a practice-like setting. I mean, I get why fans like spring games, but quite honestly, spring games are kind of overrated. And when you only get 15 practices, and you're a team that didn't go to a bowl game, and you didn't get those extra bowl practices last fall, these 15 are pretty important. So the fact that it's going to be more kind of maybe more like a practice to me is probably better for IU, but hopefully it's still entertaining for the fans, and it's beneficial for the team because that's really what matters here. But it'll be we've got to see Michael Penix. Obviously, it'll be interesting to see how they're able to kind of get him integrated into the practice and what they'll do. If you didn't know he hurt his knee, you would be able to tell in practice because he looks terrific to me. But obviously he's still within that time window where you don't want to, risk anything, any kind of a re-injury or, him just getting bumped into or something like that. But should be a good night. And like I said, hopefully the biggest thing for me is hopefully the weather is decent for the fans so they can have some people come out and watch them.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to see that, just to let him cut loose. What have you seen from Jack Tuttle? And I didn't get to see him practice this year. I wasn't able to get to those that he participated in. So what you got to see of him, what did he show you?
Well, what he showed me is what I saw from his high school film, because that's obviously really only time we saw him. He didn't get into any live action when he was at Utah, and he showed, and actually he was better than what I remember from his film. His arm strength was a little bit better than from his film. And I thought his arm strength in his high school film was impressive. I don't think he has Michael Penix's arm, but then again, very few quarterbacks do. But he still has a really good arm. He ran better than I expected. I mean, he showed the ability to scramble around and make some plays with his legs in his high school film. But he is really a legit, pretty good athlete. I mean, he's really good at the read option. I mean, he almost always made the right call. And obviously, quarterbacks aren't getting hit in practice. It's pretty much two-hand touch. You don't tackle the quarterback. But he did a good job of knowing when to keep it or knowing when to put it in the belly of the running back based on what the DN was doing. So the physical abilities were there. He had some up and down moments. It was about what I expected from a guy who's coming in. Learning a whole new scheme, not only learning the scheme, he's learning his teammates. Ramsey and Penix both have the luxury of knowing their receivers and kind of having a little bit of a rapport with them. He didn't have that. So, but he showed in a lot of moments, he showed high level ability, and then he showed some rust. And a guy who's, like I said, who's kind of, has a lot on his plate. So he is definitely a guy that I think could play in the Big Ten. You just got to keep learning the scheme, keep learning his teammates, and just keep getting those practice reps. I mean, that's just it's kind of cliche, but it's really important. And get the offense down. But he's definitely going to be in the mix in the fall. There's no doubt about it. He is going to have as good of a shot as anybody to win that job.
Well, we look forward to it. And look forward to the spring game on Friday night at 7 o'clock at Memorial Stadium, and I'll look forward to seeing you there again, Matt.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Matt Weaver from Peegs.com joining us as always. We appreciate Matt. Brought to you by our good friends at Reynolds Family Dentistry, serving Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Jay and Roger Reynolds take care of your family like they take care of us. They do a heck of a job. Justin, have you got your appointment made yet? Yes? No?
I do not. No.
Boy, that was a struggle for you to answer that question.
Well, you were supposed to make it for me, so I'm sitting here thinking.
Oh, well, don't worry. That's done. Dr. J, I hope you're hearing this. Soonest appointment for Justin Kalen. Make sure you put that on the books. Hey, we're coming to you from the golf club at Eagle Point Studios. We got a lot more coming up on the program today and a lot going on up in Bloomington this weekend. Obviously, Indiana baseball taking on the Purdue Boilermakers tonight at 7 o'clock. I'm sure that's probably on BTN. I'll have to check that out for certain, but that'll be a good game there. And then Indiana has a doubleheader this weekend, but also going on Little 500 up in Bloomington. The world's greatest college weekend, an iconic event. If you haven't seen the movie Breaking Away, check it out. It'll get you up to speed on that. But Little 500 happens Saturday at Armstrong Stadium for the men, Friday for the women at 4 o'clock. So a lot going on there. You got the spring football game Friday night at Memorial Stadium, also at 7. So there's all kinds of stuff going on up in Bloomington on the Indiana campus this weekend. If you're looking for something to do, we've got all of that. Hey, stay tuned. We've got more here coming to you from the golf club at Eagle Point Studios on Indiana Sports Beat. Ken Bykoff is going to join us next. We've got him with us, so we'll be back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
Bow wow wow, yippee yo, yippee yay, bow wow, yippee yo, yippee yay. Untied dog in a telematic society.
Hey, welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat here on this Hump Day edition on a Wednesday. Hope you're doing fine and day's off to a good start. We're joined now by our good friend Ken Bykoff from Peaks.com. Kenny, how are you, sir?
Good. A burger and a beer sounds really good right now from that last commercial. That sounds great.
I'm telling you, I can sure take one myself. Well, that does sound good. You're right, man.
I mean, I know that it's 7 in the morning, but it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Hey, man, I'm with you. I love a burger in the morning and a beer, especially you throw an egg on top of it. You're ready to roll.
That is perfect.
Hey, Ken wrote a great piece last week on talking about Indiana basketball in the last 25 years, and I promise you, if Ken writes something, the research has been done. He has turned over every rock, and that was a great piece, Ken. And I don't know that it could have been stated any better in any manner than that you did in that thing.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. I know it was something that I've worked on for a long time, and it basically arose in January of me thinking about just where Indiana stood. I know that where everybody, IU fans and me as an IU alum for a long time, I thought, okay, this Indiana belongs at this level. These are their peers, but it's one thing to have the perception of what your peers are. Then there's the reality of what the numbers tell you. And the numbers basically told me as I went through all the major conferences, looked at 102 schools and their win-loss records over the past 25 years. And I broke it down, win-loss records, winning percentage, conference championships, conference tournament championships, NCAA tournament appearances, Sweet 16s, Elite 8, Final Four, championships, average wins per season, all the way through for 25 years, just to see where Indiana ranked in that level. And I picked 25 years because it's a generation. It is allows the ebbs and flows of programs to go through some rough stuff and come back and have some good seasons and have some mediocre seasons. And what I found was, the Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina group that Indiana fans like to say that they belong to was really more like the Dayton, West Virginia, Iowa State group is where Indiana has ranked over the past 25 years. And in terms of the Big Ten, they're basically overall wins and winning percentage, they're right in 8th or 9th. So basically you're looking at Indiana with the 5 banners, with all the tradition, with all the history. The numbers over the past 25 years say that they're more of a middle-of-the-pack Big Ten program, and that's what the past has told us. And then it's just kind of, say, hey, how can Indiana get back to where they once were? Because they have been over the past 25 years. Mike Davis went to a title game. Tom Crean's team went to number 1, went to a number of Sweet 16. So getting back to that level on a consistent basis isn't out of the realm of possibility. It's just something that hasn't happened, and it's to the point to where over the past 25 years, Indiana's average wins per year have been 19.5, which means a 20-win season, which many people see as a bare minimum, has been an above average season for the Hoosiers in the past 25 years.
Yeah, there's no doubt while I still consider them definitely a blue blood program, they have not lived up to that standard for some time. I mean, they bumped into it, but they haven't lived in that neighborhood like they did on a regular basis over the course of, say, the Bob Knight generation and before that with Branch McCracken and all that. So, but being that it is Indiana and they had that pedigree and they have the resources, and by the resources, I mean the great players that come from this state. I definitely think they can get back there, but it's been of having the right person at the helm to do that. And there has certainly been some things that people consider missteps. The Kelvin Sampson one jumps out immediately. But there's other things. I mean, people argue that Mike Davis, that started it or this and that. And it's not one thing. It's just, it seemed like it was a cadre of just one thing after another that just kind of led Indiana to be here where they are today.
Well, and the thing that people don't want to consider is that really, for lack of a better word, the rot in the program started in the last years of the Bob Knight era.
Absolutely.
And those last 7 years of his time were far below the standard that he had set during the first couple of decades of his time at IU, to the point that in 3 out of his last 4 years at IU, Indiana had a record that was either at 500 in the Big Ten or within 2 games of 500 at the Big Ten. And it was just a step below where that standard had been. So already the program had started to slip by the time he was fired, and that situation was handled terribly by the administration and by Bob Knight. And then, you had the Mike Davis stuff and the Kelvin Sampson. So, I mean, it really has been a snowball, but there's no question that the first snowflake started turning into a ball when Bob Knight, during the back half of the 1990s, is when it really started to slip a little bit. And people like to try to forget that. But, they were at least still getting to the tournament. They were usually winning 20 games, but that standard that had been set over the previous 20 years had unquestionably started to slip.
Yeah, a great stat that I like to throw out that goes right with what you're saying is if you'll look, you'll see that Mike Davis won more NCAA tournament games in his run to the championship game than Bob Knight did in his last 7 seasons in Bloomington. And that says a lot right there.
And absolutely. And, again, the difference is what your expectations are for the program on a season-by-season basis, and then there are ultimate goals of what you want to see. And, part of my thing is you have to live in the real world, and the real world is that Indiana, routinely getting to the Sweet 16 and getting to Final Fours is a relic of the past. And furthermore, one that doesn't exist, that perception does not exist for a younger generation of fans who didn't live through those successful times in the 70s and 80s and early 90s. They see the program very differently than some older IU fans. So it's just kind of, measuring your expectations and being realistic. Like this past year, you had a team that had Juwan Morgan, which is great, and you had Romeo Langford, who had never played a college basketball game. And yet there were a lot of people that when the preseason rankings came out and people from outside the program would talk about Indiana maybe not being towards the top of the Big Ten. Indiana fans got upset about that, and it was like, Romeo hasn't played a college game. He has a ton of potential, but let's see what he can do. You have some other freshmen that have to make that adjustment, and then you get off to that 12-2 start, and then when things start to slip, they slipped way more than I think anybody certainly expected them to. But by that same token, to look at that roster coming into this year and say, we might be a contender for the Big Ten, I thought was a stretch at the time. And so it's just basically players do not get better because it says Indiana on their chest. You have to look at their talent level, what their experience level is, everything that goes along with it. And I think Indiana fans struggle with that just a little bit.
Possibly headed in that direction.
Hello?
We got no sound on Jim. See if we can't figure that out for you, Ken.
Okay.
But anyways, yeah, thanks for joining us today. But yeah, Indiana's certainly in a trying time in their sports history. What do you make of the roster situation they're going to have to deal with in basketball next year, having to replace 9 guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. There's no question it's a lot. But it's the kind of thing that if you rebuild it smartly, if you do it the right way, I think that you can go forward and set a good foundation for the future. It gives you flexibility that certainly Archie Miller hasn't had to this point in his time at IU. It allows you to really rebuild things. Now, how you go about that, you want to make sure that you balance the program, balance the classes, that you bring in some not junior college, but some graduate transfers, just to make sure that you don't have too many people in one single class, so that it doesn't become just a series of rebuilds every couple of years. And that's something that Tom Crean really struggled with. And you want Archie Miller to go ahead and just find that balance in classes. And it seems to be that his vision of what he wants to do going forward is maybe clearer than it has been, under the previous coaching staff. So there's no question that it's going to be a different looking team than Indiana was this year. But for as disjointed as the Hoosiers were so many times this year, I really think that, it's the situation where you might not take that much of a step back, if at all, as long as you're bringing in guys who are going to be playing the way you want them to.
Yeah, and is this a step that Archie really needs? I mean, it would have been nice if this probably happened 2 years ago, when he could really get a roster overhaul, the more players that he prefers, the style that he prefers. Is this coming a year late or 2 years late as far as really giving this program a bump to jump?
Yeah, but it was also, there were some limitations considering some of the APR issues that previous coaching staff had left him, to where Indiana would have floated possibly into some postseason penalties, which it's not that they got the NCAA tournament anyway, but they didn't know that at the time. So now you're able to go ahead and make that roster change and bring in your right kind of guys. And plus, you have to consider that when you look at the way Tom Crean's teams played, where it was a matter of quantity over quality when it came to possessions, Archie Miller is the exact opposite. A transition doesn't always go smoothly, and when you bring in guys who are bringing guys at the top who are completely changing styles, you have to get players to buy into it. And some guys bought into it, other guys haven't. Have had a tough time shaking some of their old habits, and that's really shown. So yeah, there's no question that bringing in some new guys that are the kind of players that you want to play, that you look at their basketball IQ and say that these are the guys that I want. I think that's a situation where you do have an opportunity to kind of set that foundation and get a team in there that looks much closer to the one that you want going forward.
Yeah, I kind of look at the women's team this year and last year. Last year they had their not that men's team had their greatest player ever, but the women had their greatest player in the program's history, Tyra Buss. They had Amanda Cahill, another great player. They lose both of them. This year, they get better. Now, they had a lot of pieces that weren't available to them last year, but they were able to add those pieces and have a more successful season, which was a little surprising to me. I didn't expect that. And I'm looking at the men's team thinking this could happen to them, because if they can get Joey Brunk in and they even get a good shooter, they've got some really good pieces coming back. And I think that they could, and with the availability of these numbers, Archie could plug something in. They could take a good step next year.
Yeah, there's no question. And, it is just a matter of getting guys to buy in to what you're doing and to have everybody rolling in the same direction. And I think that's something that is extremely important, because even when Indiana was playing well, when they were sitting at 12-2, too many times we watched the games and you thought to yourself, this isn't a good team on the court. These are 5 individual pieces on the court that aren't working together the way that you want them to. At times they would come together and play well. I think about that Butler game as a version of that, Louisville. But it is an opportunity maybe to, from an overall talent level, with Romeo Langford heading to the NBA, it might take a step down. But sometimes just the 5 guys working together can overcome a sheer amount of talent. And I don't think Romeo was a big problem this year. Don't get me wrong, but it's just one of those things where a fist works better than 5 fingers sometimes.
Absolutely. We're talking to our good friend Ken Bykoff from Peaks.com. And Ken, there's a lot of expectations on Archie because he's going to be going into his third season. And from a fan standpoint, they haven't seen progress. They haven't seen success. They've seen mediocrity so far. The pressure is going to start adding onto his shoulders, I would imagine. And especially now you add the fact that he's got Bob Knight potentially over his shoulder here now, as Bob Knight made an appearance in Bloomington over the weekend. We didn't talk about that. But the pressure is going to start to ramp up a little bit, I would think.
Well, forget about Bob Knight. He's not part of the equation. I mean, yeah, he could wander around. I think that Knight's impact on the program is overblown at this point. Yeah, there's the older people that remember him fondly and all of that, but Knight isn't going to be impacting Archie Miller on a day-to-day basis, even if he lives in town. And so to me, that's something more that, the fans and media can talk about, but from a program standpoint, I don't feel like it's a huge deal. But again, you mentioned there, fans didn't see any progress this year. And certainly from what Indiana fans expected at the start of the season, that's absolutely true. But also consider that Indiana went to the NIT, played 3 games, and didn't get to New York, but played 3 games and were competitive in each one of those games. Last year, Indiana didn't play in any tournament. And certainly that's not a huge amount of progress. That's not something that Indiana's standards over the years says play some games in the NIT and we're all going to be excited. So don't get me wrong on that. But what I'm saying is that from this year over last year, there was marginal progress. Not much, but it was a tiny step. And considering where this team was at that Minnesota game in Minnesota back in January, early February, and how bad they looked there, the effort that they made to sweep Michigan State, to win some games, against a team like Arkansas, and really battle late in March in a tournament that the players even seemed when they were picked for it that they didn't care about, I think says something about just some of the progress that was made. It's not a lot. Don't get me wrong. I don't want anybody to throw a party about this. But the fact that you did nothing last year and you went to the NIT and won a couple of tournament games this year, it's progress, even if it's not nearly the progress anybody wanted.
Absolutely, because there's things that they just don't. A lot of things that go on that they don't understand, that people don't know, and the information's not there. That they don't understand why things happen the way they do. But yeah, I did bring up. Go ahead.
And the NCAA tournament next year, there's no question. There's pressure to get back there. Look, this is a team where the seniors on this upcoming year's team, they're going to try to be avoiding being the first team to go for NIU to go 4 years without getting to an NCAA tournament. I think since the tournament expanded, certainly, and since the 1960s, I want to say. But so, I mean, yeah, there's pressure. There's absolutely pressure, especially at Indiana. You want to see progress from the program over the couple of years. And so, yeah, it's going to be a big season, no question. But again, it is interesting to see this roster being rebuilt on the fly in year 3. It's something you would have expected a couple of years, but circumstances didn't really allow it.
Absolutely. Got about a minute left. I brought up Bob Knight. What do you make of him showing up at the Indiana campus unannounced over the weekend?
Good for him. I'm glad that he did it, and I wish him the best of luck in just what he's doing. But I do think that it is a situation where people spend so much time. Look, he meant a ton to the program and was great for the program. And over the past 20 years, he has not been great for the program. So you want him to, those two sides to thaw a little bit. Indiana has repeatedly reached out to him. His players have repeatedly reached out to him, and he hadn't previously responded well. The fact that he was at an IU game is a step in the right direction, and you hope that that something will happen from there. But, if it doesn't, well, I don't think that, again, from a day-to-day program standpoint, it doesn't really impact anything, but it sure would be nice to see those two sides come together at least once. Absolutely. Ken Bykoff from Peaks.com. I can't thank you enough, man. I love having you on. You are a wealth of information and knowledge. Well, happy to do it anytime. Hey, how's the book coming, by the way? Book is going to be coming out in the fall of 2019, so fall of this year, and looking forward to it. It's called Hoosier Beginnings about the start of IU athletics, and should be a lot of fun stories.
I can't wait, man. I appreciate you very much. Ken Bykoff from Peegs.com. Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
Take care.
Ken Bykoff from Peegs.com joining us, as did Matt Weaver as well today. It's been a great day. I want to thank Jake Drescher and Justin Kalen, because we can't do it without my boys. Thanks a lot for joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We've got more tomorrow. We'll be back with plenty. We'll be joined by Kevin Brockway from CNHI and see what else we can dig up for you. But for my boys, I'm Jim Coyle, and I will see you on the radio.